So today I review one of my most anticipated books of the year, and that is Temptests and Slaughter by Tamara Pierce. Hello everyone, it is Samantha and I hope you guys are having a wonderful day today. Today I am excited because I get to talk about one of my most anticipated books of 2018 and a book that I really enjoyed. So spoilers, I liked it. And that of course is, as I said in the intro, Temptests and Slaughter by Tamara Pierce. I was sent this in exchange for my free and honest review by Random House. However, I really wanted to read it. So either way, you were going to get a review, even if I had to buy it myself. So Temptests and Slaughter is actually the origin story of one of my favorite characters, which is Numair from the Wild Magic Quartet. I loved his character, and now we get his origin story. So when Numair was a young lad, he was actually known by the name of Aram Draper. So this is the story of Aram Draper as he enters the School of Magic in the Carthagi Empire and basically studies to become a mage. So this book basically follows him from about the age of 10 to the age of about 15, 16 years old. So it's basically his time at school and how he's learning and growing and becoming this great mage. In addition to this, he ends up becoming close friends with two other young students, and that is Varys and Orzone. Orzone is actually one of the princes of the Emperor of Carthagi. So Orzone, Aram, and Varys end up becoming quite close and helping each other because they're like the three most promising mages at this school. So basically you follow Aram as he grows in his power and his studies, and not only is he growing in his power and his studies, but he's also becoming a little bit more educated into what is really going on in the Carthagi Empire, because the Carthagi Empire is an empire that encourages and practices in slavery, which our main character of Aram is very much against and is kind of trying to fight against, and he's determined to make it stop when he's an adult. So a lot of Tamara Pierce's books are kind of based on actual places in our own world. So the Carthagi Empire is kind of loosely based on like what we would consider to be Egypt, Northern Africa, where the Alana Quartet takes place in Tortal. That's kind of like your European, UK, France type of a country. And then the country where Aram is from is kind of loosely based on what I would consider to be India. So that's a little bit of context in terms of where this story kind of takes place. So overall, I really enjoyed this book. It was great being back in Tamara Pierce's world and back in with her writings. I didn't realize how much I had missed it. And it's just, I don't know, there's something about her stories that always capture my attention and my heart. And I think it's just very nostalgic for me because I first read her books when I was 14 and I was obsessed with them. They were everything I had wanted in a book at the time. And I love them so much. So it was great being back in this world, and overall I really enjoyed this story. One of my biggest complaints about this book in particular is probably the pacing. It does bog down a little bit in the middle, and it's very tedious in a way because you're basically following his day-to-day life over a series of years. So not too much actually happens in this book. It's very much being set up for the later books in the series where you can tell things are really going to start taking off. But the first little bit of this book is definitely a little bit tedious because you're basically just following his school routine, and it's a little bit reminiscent of Harry Potter, you know, with Varys being the only girl, and then you have Ozone and Aram, and so that was kind of playing, I felt a little bit Harry Potter-y to me at times. Not completely because they're very much different characters, but just the school aspect of it felt very reminiscent of the Harry Potter series. So it would have been great to see some more events occurring in this book than kind of the everyday tedium of his life. This book also kind of lands in a really bizarre gray area between YA and middle grade. At times it felt very much like a middle grade book, and then other times, particularly towards the end of the book, it was definitely kind of getting more into a YA feel. And I think in part it had to do with the character's age, because when the story starts out, Aram is about 10 years old, and then when the book ends, he's about 15, 16 years old. So she does actually deal with that kind of like adolescent growth and the things that happen with boys as they become young adolescents and teens, which I thought was great because she definitely dealt with those things in her Song of the Lioness, Wild Magic, and Protector of the Small Quartets. So it's kind of nice to see her apply that same kind of a thing for a more male audience because that isn't something that she has done in the past. She did it a little bit with the Circle of Magic Quartets, but this was definitely more kind of there for, you know, young boys who might pick up this book, kind of realize they're not alone with some of the things that occur when you become a teen. And I thought that aspect of this book was pretty well done. As much as I can. I mean, I'm a girl, so I can't necessarily relate to all of the coming of age aspects of being a boy. One thing that I found particularly frustrating about this book was the character of Ozorn. I think that's how you say his name, which is the Emperor's nephew, I believe he is. He's basically one of the princes and one of the people in line to the throne in this book. But he's like a racist little jerk. He is totally racist. He has no problem using slaves. He is bigoted, and I hated how much Aram let him get away with stuff. You could tell towards the end of the book he was trying to stand up to his friend more, but I really, really bothered me how much Aram and Varese kind of let Ozarn get away with his behavior. He's though he gets along with Aram and Varese and he's kind to them and they're all friends, he's very much a spoiled prince and he's very bigoted and very racist, and I found myself hating his character, which I think you all are supposed to kind of start to hate him after a while, but I just hated how bigoted and racist he was, and I just wanted Aram to stand up to him more, not let people just put up with his behavior. I just couldn't stand it by the end of the book. I just wanted to like bop Ozarn in his nose. It was bugging me so much. I did like how Aram himself, though, was wanting to fight against the use of slaves. In this world, there is gladiators, so he really, really hated the fact that gladiators are basically slaves being forced to fight and kill each other. He thought it was a waste, and that was something that he really wanted to fight against when he was an adult. So it was nice to see Aram, one of the few characters in this book, kind of trying to fight against the status quo and trying to fight for people and kind of stick up for those who can't stick up for themselves. So I thought that was kind of nice to see, even if a lot of the characters were very complacent in their engagement of these certain societal issues. In terms of diversity in this book, there is diversity of race as well as diversity of gender. There are LGBTQ characters. Rasmus, one of his teachers, is himself gay and has a husband. This book also deals with privilege in a very interesting way, because Aram becomes very aware of how privileged him and his friends are and how a lot of these people with privilege treat other people who come from different races and backgrounds from themselves. So among his teachers in this book are those who come from various tribes around the Empire of Carthage, and they practice slightly different types of magic from a standard mage, and he's very fascinated by this, and he sees it as a legitimate form of magic. But a lot of the other teachers who come from other parts of this world view it as kind of barbaric, and he, of course, doesn't feel that is correct, and it really, really bothers him that some of his teachers are treated poorly specifically because of where they come from. So it was interesting how she kind of dealt with that on a level for kids who would read this book, and like how people can kind of step back and become a little bit more aware of how their privilege and how they're raised might affect their view of the world, and how that isn't always necessarily correct. In terms of the writing in this book, it was standard Tamara Pierce. It was definitely a quick read. It was fairly fast-paced once you got into the story, though it did plot a little bit in terms of pacing with the school days and things kind of being a little bit the same, like a little repetitive, I think is the word that I'm looking for. It wasn't my favorite book by her. I definitely really enjoyed the Tricksters duology and the Becca Cooper trilogy the best, but this one is definitely up there, and I really, really found myself enjoying it. So overall, I ended up rating this book 4 out of 5 stars. I gave the writing 4.5 out of 5 stars. I gave the characters 4 out of 5 stars. I gave the world building 4 out of 5 stars. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more context and history for the various tribes that were based around the Carthage Empire, as well as a little bit more history and where they come from, and a lot more. I would have also enjoyed a lot more history on the local gods in this book. And I gave the plot 3.5 out of 5 stars. I would say the plot is probably the weakest point in this book, because not a lot happened until the last little half, and it's about almost a 500-page book. So until the last 150 pages, things were a little bit plotting at times. So I give this book an overall rating of 4.5 out of 5 stars. I definitely really enjoyed it, and I can't wait until she comes out with book 2, and I hope it's not a super long wait, because I want to know what's going to happen, and I want to continue to follow Numare's story. Alright guys, that is it for my review of Temptests and Slaughter by Tamara Pierce. I hope this guys gave you a little bit of a better idea of what this book is about and what I thought of it, and if you think it'll be for you. If you have read this book, I would love to know your thoughts down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Until next time, happy reading. Bye!